to Season 4, Episode 4 of Vixen, a Black beauty and pop culture podcast. If you enjoy what you hear today, please leave a review anywhere you listen to podcasts. Today's episode is on Samantha Mumba, famous Irish pop singer of the 2000s. Now, let's start the show. Hey y'all, welcome back to an all-new episode of Vixen. Today I am covering a pop star, pop singer, if you will. I don't think I've ever covered a pop star on Vixen, have I? I can't think of anybody right now. I think this is my first time talking about a pop star. I'm really excited about this episode. I know I always say that, but I really loved Samantha Mumba growing up. And I feel like when I was a kid, we had a lot of pop stars that you would hear like one or two songs from and you would never ever see them again. I feel like even though I'm not as tapped into pop music as I used to be when I was a kid, now I feel like a lot of the current pop stars, they stick around for a lot longer, even if they're no shade, like not as talented. But yeah, I feel like we just had a lot of people just like up and disappear. So I was really excited to just do a deep dive on Samantha's life. And I honestly thought this was going to be a short episode because I didn't think there was going to be much to report on. But I actually found a lot of stuff and she has had quite the colorful life. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it, get started. Let's go. Okay, y'all, bear with me because Samantha's real name is really long. So Samantha Tamania Ann Cecilia Mumba was born on January 18th, 1983 to Peter and Barbara Mumba in Dublin, Ireland. Her father, Peter, was from Zambia and her mother, Barbara, is Irish. Barbara was an air hostess and Peter was an aircraft engineer. So I'm guessing that they might have met on a flight or in an airport or something like that. The two married in 1980 and 7 years after having Samantha, the couple had a son, Omero. The family of four lived in Drumcondra, which I believe I'm pronouncing right, Drumcondra, which is a very cute little suburb of Dublin. For people who live in Atlanta, when I looked it up, I think I thought of it as kind of like Marietta to Atlanta, but it's a very cute suburb. It's kind of half urban, half suburban. There's a lot of nice houses, cool shops, bars, it looks like, and it seems like it's mostly quiet and very safe. So typical kind of place to have a family of four. So one of the most fascinating things about Samantha to me was her being a Black girl from Ireland. Now, when I was younger, I didn't know much about the diaspora outside of like Africa, the Caribbean, and America. So I was always fascinated that she was from Ireland. So I wanted to know what it would be like to grow up as a Black girl in a place like Ireland or Sweden or Germany. Like now that I'm older, I've actually gotten a lot of insight on that just from being like subscribed to different YouTubers and meeting people and stuff, but I wanted to see what Samantha experienced herself. So I went to look to see if she's talked about it in an interview. So here's a condensed quote from her from an interview with The Independent. As a child, I wasn't aware of racism, but I'm much more aware of it at home now. It was almost as if, because it's become such a diverse place, that it's kind of shown itself a lot more in different ways. My parents did an amazing job in that regard. Color was never spoken of. It just wasn't relevant in our lives. As a little girl, now that I look back, of course, people would have been staring at me, but I just thought I look so cute or my dress is gorgeous. I would have never associated that with them looking at me because I was different. The confidence of a child, I just thought I was the bee's knees. However, I would have been with my dad several times when there would have been racial occurrences. And so he certainly wouldn't have had the same experience that I did. Really, at the time, maybe naively, I would have thought, oh, it's just because he has an African accent. I never even associated that with they're saying that to him, they're meaning that to me too. That unawareness, I suppose, I was just a child. Because I was in the public eye, I was getting all of this special treatment. People were looking at me as somebody famous. Whereas had I just been a regular, whatever that means, teenager, maybe I would have been treated differently, end quote. So I find that a lot of people who grow up overseas, they kind of have the same experience where they realized racism a little bit later because it may not be as, in your face as other countries. I've heard a lot of people I follow say similar things, and it kind of makes sense, especially when you know that Samantha is biracial, which I had no idea. Honestly, I looked at her as just like a dark-skinned girl from the other side of the pond, but I had no idea she was biracial, so I feel like that probably played a part as well. But anyway, Samantha attended the Billy Berry Stage School from 3 years old to 15, but surprisingly, she was never interested in being a performer, which is crazy. In a 2021 interview with The Independent, it was a different article, Samantha said, "It wasn't because I had this passion and I just had to dance or sing. I just liked the social aspect. I was a bit of a messer and wouldn't have been the most focused. Never practiced," end quote. So even though she never practiced, at 15, she landed the lead role in a Christmas play at the Olympia Theatre, which is a very popular concert venue in Dublin, so it was a very big deal, y'all. While she was performing, a Sony executive noticed her voice, thought she sounded good, and then set up a meeting with her and her mother. The meeting seemingly went well, but Samantha didn't hear anything from this executive for months. Randomly, that same executive called Barbara months later, who is Samantha's mother, by the way, and said that he was at a restaurant in Dublin with a few producers who had just worked with the Spice Girls, and he wanted to know if Samantha would come and meet them. So Samantha and Barbara go, they meet the group, and then they go to a club afterwards for drinks. They snuck Samantha in the club because remember, she's like 15 or 16 at this time. And they tell the bouncers like, oh, she's this famous R&B singer from America. So that's how they got her in. And then they went to the bar and they introduced her to Lewis Walsh. Now, I'm assuming we don't know as a unit who Lewis Walsh is because I sure didn't before I wrote this episode. But he is a very big deal in Ireland. He was a popular music manager and he managed 3 of Ireland's biggest pop acts, which are Boyzone, Johnny Logan, and Westlife. Shortly after the meeting, Lewis became Samantha's manager and she was quickly signed to Polydor Records. Things took off quite quickly and Samantha was thrust into work mode. Here's a quote from that Independent article about that time. "All of a sudden, I was in Sweden with my little notebook and all my poems and ramblings, writing songs. It was a crazy time, but it was all very innocent. I think I was very lucky in that while I was a young girl, I really wasn't exploited in that way. All of the guys were so respectful." So at this point, Samantha was going back and forth between Sweden, Denmark, London, and Dublin, all just to write and record her debut album. Eventually, it got really hard for her to manage all of that and stay in school. And because she never even liked school for real, her parents, who had separated that year actually, agreed to let her leave school because they saw the music business as a really big opportunity for her. In 2000, when she was 17 years old, Samantha's debut single, Gotta Tell You, was released. The song did really, really well. It reached the top of the charts in Ireland, the United Kingdom, and in the States. Her debut album was titled the same name and was released on Halloween of 2000. The album was number 4 in Ireland, number 9 in the UK, and got to number 67 on the Billboard Top 200. She then released her second single, which is my favorite of hers, Baby Come Over, in September of 2001. So things were really great at this time career-wise for Samantha, but she was having a few family issues. So y'all know, like I mentioned, her mother and father had divorced about a year before her album came out. And her father had fallen on hard times around this point. He apparently left Dublin after the divorce. Somehow he ended up in London. I'm assuming that he moved there after the divorce. He was barely getting by in London. It was really, really sad because he had once been very successful. You know, he was an aircraft engineer. I'm not sure if they were communicating at the time, him and Samantha. It kind of seems like they weren't, but we'll talk more about that later. So 2001 overall was a really, really big year for Samantha. She did a few features and she also released a Christmas EP called Samantha Sings Christmas. This was a hit and it was later included as a bonus on the deluxe edition of the Gotta Tell You album, her debut. Next, she was handpicked to play the lead character, Mara, in the film The Time Machine, which was directed by Simon Wells. She spent 4 months on set, shooting all day from Monday to Friday, and then she would go and perform at radio shows in America on the weekends. So she had a really crazy schedule. The schedule was just so rough that she started to develop these really excruciating migraines, and the label actually ended up sending her in for CAT scans. So, fun fact about the movie, y'all, her little brother, Omero, he actually got to play her little brother in the movie as well. He was also featured on a song called The Boy on Samantha's first album. I'm not sure if Samantha advocated for her brother to be included on both her album and in the movie, but if she did, she's definitely a real one. That is so cute. Love that. Anyway, the movie was released on March 8th, 2002. At the Teen Choice Awards in 2001 and 2002, she was nominated for Choice Music Best Breakout Artist and also for Choice Movie Best Breakout Artist for her role in The Time Machine, of course. She was also in a number of indie Irish films after this, and then later signed on for a role in the film Spin the Bottle. And then she went on tour with NSYNC. She was very booked and busy at this time, y'all. So as you guys can probably tell, Samantha had quite a meteoric rise. I feel like I'm just running down her entire resume at this time, but I want you guys to see how much she was doing, and she was still so young. She's 17. When she wasn't busy, she would go home to Ireland and visit her family or her boyfriend at the time, who she had been dating since 1998. And eventually, I believe on the NSYNC tour, her aunt became her tour manager for that. So she was able to kind of have family around her and just feel more at ease. Here's a condensed quote from Samantha about the height of her career. As soon as I was finished doing the TV appearances or whatever, I'd have the driver drop me to a shopping center. That was my happy place, by myself, walking around. I wasn't doing lines of coke in the club. I guess it kind of grounded me, a bit of normality. I might have been on 6 planes this week and done however many interviews, and now I'm just back to my happy place. Because there wasn't social media, you were very much in a work bubble. Airport, TV, photo shoot, whatever it was. I wasn't really aware of what was going on around me. Because I'm an introvert, that never bothered me. I don't know how people in girl bands deal with it, but that would have been just too much for me. End quote. So now we're in the summer of 2002. Samantha released a new single called I'm Right Here, and fun fact, this song was written by Candy Burris. So the song did okay overseas, but it wasn't a major hit. So the rumor at this time, pay attention y'all, the rumor at this time was that Polydor, her label, was gearing up to release a second album titled Woman for Samantha. But since the single I'm Right Here didn't do well, they decided to drop her, and then some unreleased tracks ended up being leaked, right? But that was not true. What really happened was that the label was merging with a larger label, and this merger became final in 2003. So when Samantha appeared on The Late Late Show a few years later in 2007, she said that there was never an album in the works, so she was never supposed to release a second album, and that she was unable to release new material due to the contract restrictions after the restructure. So basically what that means, what I'm assuming what happened was when this label Polydor merged with a larger label, they probably stopped her from releasing anything new until they figured out what to do with her, which I think is pretty normal when you're under new management, or you just have a whole new team. So this led to the new version of the label just dropping her. I'm guessing they didn't know where to go with her career next. And then Samantha said that the leaked tracks, they were leaked by her because she just wanted to get public opinion on them, because she did want to release new music, but she wanted to find a new sound. So she leaked those tracks herself. So what is said in the industry is that doing that movie, The Time Machine, really did not do good for Samantha. She shouldn't have done that. They say that kind of tanked her career. She's also kind of alluded to this herself. She says that, she spent so much time from the studio because of the filming schedule that her career kind of plummeted as a result. But I don't know. I kind of feel like there's a lot of artists who do music and movies at the same time. We've seen a lot of people make that transition very successfully. The first person that comes to mind is Ludacris. I know he mainly does movies and stuff now, but I mean, there was a time where he was doing music and movies, and he's not the only one. We've seen a lot of people do that. So I just kind of wonder, I don't know. I don't know if it was doing the movie. I think maybe if the movie didn't do well, then that was probably what it was. But if she had a team behind her who really believed in her, I think she could have bounced back, because a lot of superstars have done movies that didn't really do well at the box office and they bounced back. So I feel like it was a combination of the movie flopping plus her not having a strong team who really even wanted to work with her and believed in her. But what do you guys think about that? Hey y'all, so I know we're all excited to come out of this pandemic and get back to our regular lives, but let's be honest, we've been through a lot these last 2 years. You might feel like you need to step back, reassess, process it all, set new goals, or just talk to somebody. I was feeling the exact same way, and I just had my very first session with my new life coach, Tola Maria. I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I was nervous, but Tola made the space very comfortable. I felt safe, and I felt like I could be open and honest. Although she made me comfortable, she did not hold back, y'all. She definitely told me about myself. But it all felt really constructive. I got some good tips. It was definitely eye-opening and very much needed. Having a life coach is something that I think Black women can truly get a lot out of. So I've partnered with Tola Maria, life coach, to offer my listeners 12% off their bulk sessions when they use my code VIXEN. You can use this code on her website, which will be linked down in the show notes. And you can find her on Instagram at TMaria Life Coach. That's TMARIA Life Coach. And don't forget to use code VIXEN and let her know that I've sent you. So it's 2003. Samantha is 20 years old. She doesn't have a deal anymore, but she actually was quite happy to have some time to herself other than when she would be doing the indie films that she was filming. She purchased her own home. She hung out with her loved ones, and she had a really big 21st birthday party back in Dublin. It's been said that Samantha never got a big head. She never became a diva, and she loved being home in Dublin more than anything. Here's a quote from that Independent article I mentioned earlier. "Just to be able to open a wardrobe and my clothes be there, not be living out of a suitcase, was practically a novelty. There was some film work, which after touring felt like relative normality. You go to work in the morning, you come home. I loved it being a team effort, that pressure not totally falling on me." End quote. So after being released from her label, Samantha did dip and dabble a little bit in the world of fashion. In 2004, Louise Kennedy chose her as the face of her spring-summer collection. Then Samantha was chosen to model the world's most expensive dress, which was made by Scott Henshaw. And that dress was showcased at the London premiere for Spider-Man 2. The dress, they meant it. It was the world's most expensive dress. The dress was $5 million, y'all. Samantha also did a collaboration collection with Reebok called Quest. And then shortly after that, she became an ambassador for Dior, and she helped launch their watch collection in Ireland. She also did a ton of other fashion stuff at this time. She modeled for Dunnes. I believe is it Dunnes or Dunnes? Whatever it is, it's basically like a very popular fashion chain in Ireland. Okay, so now let's get into some juicy stuff. Let's get into some romance. So I did mention briefly that Samantha did have a boyfriend when she first became a star. They had been together for a few years, but they broke up. So guess who she was dating in 2004? Cisco. She was dating Cisco. The two dated for a little over a year, and they often went back and forth between Dublin and LA to see each other. She did a little soundbite interview. Y'all know one of those interviews where it's like, it's not really an interview, but they kind of saw you out or saw you at a red carpet and asked you a question and you respond, and the celebrity responds. So she had like one of those little soundbite interviews with the Irish Examiner, and I'm just going to read the whole thing to y'all. Samantha Mumba is determined to sustain her romance with pint-sized rapper Cisco, regardless of the geographical distance between them. So that was the first line of this article. And let me just say, y'all may have not been respecting Cisco in 2004, but in 2021, y'all need to put some respect on Cisco's name. That was very shady. I did not like that. But anyway, let me keep reading it. Mumba, age 21, is currently filming the romantic comedy Boy Eats Girl in Dublin, while Cisco is based in America. But she is confident their love can overcome all obstacles. The singer-turned-actress explains, "We're cool, we're great friends, and I'm definitely dating him. The space between us will not destroy our relationship. This is what I do. It's my job. He knows that. I currently spend half my time here and half in Los Angeles. I like being back in Ireland. Working on the movie is like having a regular job. I can go home after work each day." End quote. So as we can see, Samantha kind of loves the idea of like going to work and going home. And like I don't think she really loved the tour life and the crazy schedule and all of that stuff. But let's get back to her and Cisco. There wasn't really any drama in their relationship between the two of them, but there was a little drama that was started by Samantha's father, unfortunately. So basically, rumors started to come out that Cisco and Samantha were expecting a child. And these rumors had actually come from Samantha's father, Peter. So at the time, Peter was facing jail time for drunk driving, and he tried to say that his daughter was pregnant so he could get off from the charges, which is like, that's horrible. He basically was trying to say that him finding out that she was pregnant made him emotional, and he had like a slight mental breakdown, and that drove him to drink. In actuality, Samantha was not pregnant, and the two were estranged. Like, she hadn't spoken to her father in over a year, so that was a lie. Samantha actually had to go to the press to deny this rumor, and Peter ended up serving a 4-month prison sentence in London. Sadly, Samantha and Cisco broke up in 2005, and I say sadly because I'm now obsessed with them as a couple. Like, I had no idea that these two ever dated, but I kind of love it. I'm very into it. They deserved more attention as an it couple of the 2000s. They were very perfect for the times, and I love it. But anyway, after the breakup with Cisco, Samantha started dating actor Charles Porter. Charles is from Oxford, England, and he played football at Duke University. Yes, the one in America, in North Carolina. He decided not to go on to the NFL because he had like some pretty crazy back injuries, I believe. And then he became an actor, very well known overseas. 2 of the films that he starred in were called Holla and Nailed. I don't know much about Charles Porter. I've never heard of him in my life, but this is a very attractive couple. They looked great together. I'm loving Samantha's taste. Loving Samantha's taste so far. But however, Charles and Samantha broke up in 2006. So that same year, Samantha decided to move to LA full-time, taking her mother and brother with her. In October of 2006, Samantha released a compilation album called The Collection. So it was basically a few songs from her first album, a few never released tracks, I believe. Then she had 2 new songs on it, as well as I'm Right Here. So that was the song that kind of flopped, the one that Candy wrote. So she re-released it on this compilation album. After the release of the compilation album, Samantha started to focus a little bit more on acting. She then later starred in 2 reality shows called Get Your Act Together and Dancing on Ice. Also in 2006, Samantha started dating The Game, allegedly. Yes, the rapper The Game. He actually went and spoke to MTV about this, and here's a quote from him talking about her. "Beautiful girl. I love what she does, and her accent, it just kills me. She's crazy, crazy beautiful." End quote. He also let them know that Samantha really didn't know his music, only what was on the radio, because remember, if you were around in 2006, if you weren't, I'll just tell you, The Game was really, really big at this time. I think his first album came out in 2005. Yeah, so he was like, by 2006, he was a huge star. So yeah, Samantha didn't know his music, but she ended up coming to his show in Dublin at the request of her younger brother, Omeru. I'm not sure if this was an official couple, but they were spotted together. Like, I saw some blind items about them, so I'm guessing they had seen each other like shortly after they met. But I don't think it went anywhere, though, because that very next year in 2007, Samantha met Teray. Teray Scales was an LAPD policeman, and he had 1 son from a previous marriage named Mason. The two met at a club and dated for 4 years before getting engaged in June 2011. So, unfortunately, y'all, like, it's when I first read about her marriage, I was like, oh my God, it's giving me like fairy tale. We love that for her. But unfortunately, there were 2 scandals surrounding this couple, y'all, which is crazy because he's not even famous. So it's like, how? After Teray and Samantha got together, Teray's ex-wife and the mother of his son basically went on an interview tour to whoever would listen, saying that herself and Teray were still in a relationship up until 2008. So mind you, like, they had already been together. Samantha and Teray had already been together for like a year. So she was basically saying, you know, he was dating them at the same time. Then there was a rumor, I'm not sure then there was another rumor, I'm not sure the validity of this, but it was said that the LAPD demoted Teray because he didn't disclose 2 domestic disputes that he had with his former wife. I had no idea about this, but I guess if you've ever been involved with like any kind of DV incident, you have to disclose it to the police. Didn't know that. Apparently, Teray did not disclosed, and he was demoted. But I'm not actually sure. I didn't look too far deep into that, so I'm not sure how true that is, but that's just another scandal. So here's the last one. I said there were 2 scandals, but there's actually 3. I think I've talked a little bit about how disgusting and crazy a lot of the UK media, as far as like the gossip rags, can be. I believe that I talked about that in the sex tape scandals episode from last season, I think it was, with Mel B. And the Daily Mail is absolutely gross, and they continue to prove me right here. In 2011, they photographed Teray, who was engaged to Samantha at the time, kissing his mistress. And then they did a whole interview with her where she said that she had been with him for as long as he had been with his fiance, Samantha. Samantha never publicly commented on this, and it's just really, really crazy how the Daily Mail will they go to the depths of hell for the craziest, most salacious story, and then they give these people a whole platform. It's really nuts to me. Don't get me wrong though, Teray is very gross for doing this to Samantha, but the reason why I say the Daily Mail is gross for this is because how you going to be calling Samantha a has-been, and then also her fiance isn't even famous, so it's kind of why are we going so hard? The way that they tear people down is just crazy to me. And I know that you guys might know a lot about this just from what Meghan Markle goes through with the UK media. They go so hard. I swear to God, they will really, really drive somebody insane. But I don't know. I swear they would report on an envelope opening the wrong way and shame the person for opening the envelope. It's just the UK, y'all media is insane. But anyway, here's a quote from the mistress that was in the article. "I didn't take him seriously. How could I? He took me out to the Cheesecake Factory for a meal, and we went back to my place and made love. He stayed the night," end quote. Okay, I love the Cheesecake Factory. I am not above the Cheesecake Factory. We could go to the Cheesecake Factory tonight. However, I'll be damned if I'm sleeping with somebody's fiance and all they took me to was the Cheesecake Factory. Are you serious? And then I'm going to say that proudly in an article? What? This is why I say the Daily Mail is trash. I can, honestly, whoever took that quote and wrote that quote down, if I was that journalist, I don't even know if you could call that person a journalist, I would have started laughing. I'm sorry, I wouldn't have been able to control myself. But anyway, despite the rumors that was surrounding Teray and Samantha, the pair did get married on February 24th, 2012. And from how it looks like to me, they are still together. I didn't see anything about them separating or a divorce or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, he's not on her Instagram from what I've seen, but I don't see anything about them separating or divorcing. And maybe she's just I'm not posting this guy anymore. I ain't about to post him on my Instagram. Who knows? I feel like there's a lot of couples like that don't post each other, so that doesn't mean anything. But I didn't see anything about them separating or divorcing, so I think it's safe to say that the two are still together. In August of 2013, Samantha appeared on the Irish talent series The Hit to compete for a spot in the show's finale. One of the songs she performed, Somebody Like Me, peaked at number 5 on the Irish singles chart. So this is kind of a comeback for Samantha, right? A few months after this, she released a new single called Only Just Begun, and then she did some performances throughout Dublin, I believe. One of the biggest ones was performing at a nightclub called Four Dame Lane as a part of the Dublin Pride Festival. In 2014, Samantha announced that she was pregnant with her and Teray's first child together, but unfortunately, just a few months after her announcement, Samantha was in a tragic accident. There was a 3-car pileup on a highway in LA, and it happened just weeks before Samantha was due, which is so scary. But luckily, both her and her daughter survived. On March 3rd, 2015, Samantha gave birth to the couple's daughter, Sage. Oh my God. I love the name Sage. I actually want to name my first daughter that as well. I love it. I love any kind of unisex name. Here's a quote from Samantha about having her first child. "I'm always really conscious that I never want to be that mother that's going on and on and on about their child. She's absolutely my purpose. She fulfills me in ways that Jesus Christ, a career, could never," end quote. That's so sweet. That's so sweet. I'm so happy that she, has her daughter. And I read some other interviews where she was like, I'm one and done. That's all I got in me. Not even because of what she went through with her pregnancy or anything like that. She was saying that, and some people might think this sounds crazy, but she was saying that like she feels like it would be a disservice or like, disloyal to her child to have another child. And I think she just feels like she has so much love in her heart that she cannot have another child. And I know like when you have two, you're gonna love both. But it's just, I kind of feel her on that. I don't have any children yet, but I do kind of feel like once I have my first one, I feel like that's it. Like when I picture myself as a mom, I kind of see myself with only one child. I don't know if that's weird, but like I just feel like I'm gonna be done after that. I don't know. I kind of related to her a little bit on that, and I feel like I would feel the same way. Obviously, I don't know because I haven't had kids yet, but I just thought that was really sweet. After Sage's birth, Samantha did a few more guest TV appearances over the years, such as a contestant on MasterChef Ireland. She was a co-host on the 6 o'clock show, and she was a panelist on a program called Loose Women. Now, I had to look up just what the hell that show was. But it's not as bad as it sounds. It's just a talk show from a female perspective. It's kind of like The Real. I don't know. I feel like UK media and television is just a lot more cheeky and a lot more like out there than American television. Like the names, the things they say, they can actually cuss a lot more on their shows, I believe. I don't know. That's why I had to look at it. I was like, Loose Women? What is this about? But basically, it's just a talk show. It's kind of like The Real. Samantha also starred in an Irish production of Grease in 2019, and she continued to travel between LA and Ireland for those appearances until the pandemic started. Tragically, Samantha's father, Peter, died right at the beginning of the pandemic in March 2020. I'm not sure how he died or the cause of death or any of the circumstances around it. But Samantha, she does not like to talk about it. She makes it very clear that she, still very fresh for her and she doesn't want to discuss it. But she does say, they had rekindled their relationship and had been talking again regularly. And you can also see that, like, if you scroll down her Instagram, she posts her father a lot before he died. So, yeah, it's just a really, really sad thing. In November 2020, Samantha released 2 new songs from her upcoming album. One was called Cool. It was basically like an upbeat, kind of flowy track. And then she also released Process, which was an ode to her father. She spoke about it on the 6 o'clock show, and here's what she had to say. This year is just for everybody, for so many people on so many different levels, but obviously it's awful. So the song, I think very much so sums it up for me. It hopefully sums up how a lot of people are feeling in the moment. I think it's probably a bit mad to release 2 different singles 2 weeks apart, but I felt that this song is how I really want to close off the year. And it was important to me personally and hopefully maybe to be uplifting to people as well. End quote. So y'all, that is Samantha's story. I do want to end this with lyrics from her song, Process. Let me tell you now, it gets better somehow. When your life is overwhelmed with doubt, know there's always going to be a way out. If you're having problems and you need to solve them, let me just dissolve them for you. If I can be honest, it takes some time to process. Every step is progress. It gets better, I promise. Okay, y'all, so that is the Samantha Mumba story. That is the story of how our girl from Ireland rose to pop superstardom, became an indie film actress, and then became a housewife, and is now getting back into acting and back into music. Love that for her. Absolutely love Samantha Mumba, like I was saying at the beginning of this episode. It was so nice to me to see a darker pop star. I don't know if you guys would consider her dark skin. I'm not even going to get into that. Brown skin, dark skin, all of that stuff. However, she was a black girl. I looked at her. I was like, this is a black woman. She's singing a pop song. She didn't have like a ton of R&B type music. Eventually she did. Like, I feel like that song that Candy wrote for her had a little bit of an R&B influence. And not that there's anything wrong with doing, like music that's influenced by R&B or just doing R&B music, but it was kind of refreshing to see somebody who, in my opinion, again, I had no idea that Samantha was biracial. It was really refreshing to see someone who was, in my opinion, unambiguously black, just doing pop music, because we didn't see a lot of that. Like, some of the girlies would go back and forth between like pop and R&B, but we didn't have someone that was like only doing pop music. So she always stood out to me. I really, really enjoyed her music and her career, and I'm so happy I got to cover her for this episode, because I know if I was wondering what the hell she was up to, I know y'all was wondering the same thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'm really, really excited for next week's episode. I hope that this one was a little bit like upbeat for y'all because we are going down next week. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna just let y'all know now. We are getting sad next week a little bit. We're gonna talk about some. I ain't gonna give too much, but we are gonna kind of go down. Like the mood's gonna go down next week a little bit. So definitely wanted to do something kind of upbeat pop music like. Yeah, I hope y'all like this episode, and I will see y'all next week with an all new episode. Bye. Thank you for listening to Vixen. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a review. If you have a submission, feel free to email VIXENPODCAST@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with an all new episode.